that we are going to talk now. As I said, let's say you're a quality auditor, you see that there is an increase in FCR rate. Let's say your repeat has come down by 1% only. Now you run to your quality manager and say that I have seen an increase, I've seen an improvement in my repeat or in my FCR by 1%. The guy says, okay, all right, brilliant, I understand this, go back and work. What are we going to do in this session is that I will try and explain through a few examples with formulated sheet that how can you translate into dollar value and have and start interacting in a language that senior folks stroke business owners stroke people who have KPIs and KRAs, cost and revenue angles to work on. What language do they talk? What language do they understand? And how can you also start talking in the same language? That is what we are going to cover in this session. Now, what is it that we want to talk about? Okay, so we are saying that there are 3 illustrations that I'm going to talk about. If there is a needle movement, a positive needle movement on your FCR, if your repeat has come down, if your FCR has increased, how will you monetize it? That is one illustration that I'm going to talk about. Second illustration that I will spend time on is going to be improvement in auditor productivity. Your auditors are currently doing 20 audits a day. Now they are doing 30 audits. Now, obviously, you can go back and say that this is the improvement in percentage terms. But what we are going to do is convert it into dollar value. And how you can do it, I will give you a sample format. This is not the only way of doing it. There are other ways also. But for this workshop, I am giving you one use case. Then there is another. We will also talk about if there is a learning curve improvement. Now, what is learning curve improvement? What I'm essentially saying is that let's say it takes your new hires 60 days currently to reach the same level as your entire, tenured population. So let's say a person who's already, let's say 150 days old in the system can handle 50 transactions in a day. The new hire takes 60 days to reach that level. Now, let's say you have, with your interventions, with the projects that you ran, now that learning curve has reduced from 60 days to 45 days. People are able to actually reach that high level within 45 days. What is the value in dollar terms is something that we will talk about. So that's the third use case. These are the 3 that I'm going to talk about. There are many other ways to monetize your work, to monetize your efforts, to talk to the management and show them that, what is it that you have been able to accomplish. And obviously in probably later workshops, and I must mention that there is another one that is going to come up in the month of October. We probably will pick up a few other cases as well. All right. Now, before we go to Amazon vouchers, let me open up this sheet. Okay, again, a quick caveat. The entire sheet is formulated. You will have access to this sheet within 24 hours of this workshop. You can do whatever you want to do with these sheets. Please pay attention. This is not that I'm saying that this is going to be getting very, very complex, but if you will pay attention, you will be able to get the gist of it very, very quickly. Now, the first use case that we are talking about is that how you can, or the first illustration that we are talking about is how you can explain that what's the impact of productivity improvement. Now, what is it that I have done here? Let's say that you are working for a project which has 350 agents. This is just a number. You can make changes to this number depending on what is the strength of the project that you are working for. Let's say that you are currently working on a ratio-based supervisory staff. For every 20 agents, you have a quality auditor. For every 20 agents, you have a team leader, which means that for a 350 people project, you will have about 17 and a half, 18 people as quality auditors and about 18 people as team leaders. What is another important thing is, usually, this is again something that we have realized basis our experience with various projects. An agent, I'm talking about an agent, not a quality auditor. An agent spends 15 minutes every day on coaching and feedback. Every day on an average, not that, in some cases, an agent doesn't get audited every day, but on an average, 15 minutes of agent time goes into feedback and coaching, right? Now, 15 minutes in a 480-minute day, 8 hours a day into 60 is 480. 15 minutes in a 480-minute day is about 3%. Usually, this 3% is considered as in-office shrinkage. So there are two types of shrinkages. Obviously, one shrinkage is that a person has not even reported to office, was scheduled to work, did not report to office. That is one shrinkage that usually people talk about, especially operations. Then there is another shrinkage. That shrinkage is a person is in office but is not taking calls. He's spending his time in feedback and coaching, and that's about 3% of the total productive time. Okay. Now this is again an assumption. Let's say that the agent salary, agent per month CTC is 20,000. Quality auditor is at 33,000. Team leader is at 33,000. Okay. Now what is it that I'm saying? Let's say, basis the interventions, you were able to figure out that there is 50% increase in your quality auditor's productivity. There is 20% increase in your team leader's productivity. And there is 1.5% reduction in your in-office shrinkage. In this session, I am not training you how to figure out, or I'm not talking about how to figure out that what's the change in productivity. I'm assuming that productivity change is something that you are already aware of. If you are aware of, you punch in that what's the productivity increase or what's the in-office shrinkage that you have seen basis whatever interventions that you had in your project. And then what is it that I'm doing? I'm saying that if 50% increase is there in your quality auditor productivity, and if one quality auditor is of 33,000 rupees, and if you have 17 and a half, which essentially is 18 quality auditors in your project, it amounts to total saving of 2,88,750 rupees per month, per person, and so on and so forth. Similarly, for TL, for in-office, and hence direct monetizable benefit at a month level and monetizable benefit at a annual level. So this is one example. You will have this sheet, go back to your project, play around with this sheet. You have questions, clarifications that you need, you come back, you ask me, and I'll be more than happy to answer all those questions. So one, how to monetize productivity improvement that you have seen in your domain. Again, I am mentioning that this is not the only way. There are multiple other ways in which you can do it. And obviously, we will be talking about multiple other ways in subsequent workshops that we will organize. But this is just one that I've shared. Now, moving on to the next one. Guys, we are only left with about 28 minutes for the session. I'm not sure whether I'll be able to complete all that I came prepared with. But moving on, the next session or the next illustration. Now, what is this illustration? This illustration is going to talk about if there is a repeat reduction in your process by 1.5%, how to translate it into dollar value? If it is 2%, if it is 3%, how to translate it to dollar value is how I'm going to explain. Again, you have to go back in your department, use your data, use this sheet to come with a number. This is just an illustration to tell you how it is done. Now, let's just say that in your project, your current FCR rate is 80%, which essentially means that of the total transaction that come to your contact center, 80% gets resolved in one go, in one transaction. There is no repeat that happens. And let's say that your repeat rate is at 20%. Now, moving on, what I'm saying is that assume that out of total 20% repeat, 50% of that repeat is controllable. Now, what is controllable repeat? Which means that if you make some intervention, if you run certain projects at an advisor level, at a process level, at a technology level, you will be able to reduce your repeat by 20%. I'm assuming that 50% is controllable, the rest is not. Now, each one of you already know that what is your daily volume. I mean, like, what are the total transaction that hits your contact center? So you are already aware of this. What is it that I'm saying? If 17,500 is your daily transaction, and if you have a repeat rate of 20%, and if out of that 20%, 50% is controllable, what is it that I've done here? I have multiplied 17,500 with 50% and then with 20% and then with 50%, or obviously either ways, to get that what's the controllable repeat volume that you have. So your controllable repeat volume is 1750 transactions. In this illustration, to make it easier for all of us to understand, I have not taken 5-day rolling, 7-day rolling repeat. I am sure all of us know that repeat is usually calculated on a 5-day rolling period and a 7-day rolling period. Right now, I'm saying that every customer repeats only once. I want to keep it a little simple for the first workshop. And hence I'm saying once is the, I'm like, a customer, if he repeats only once. Now let's say that your call duration, your average call duration is 350 seconds, which means what? For every repeat transaction that you are getting, there are 350 seconds that you are wasting, right? If you can control it, then these 350 seconds you can save. I'm repeating it again. I believe that it is getting a little complex, and hence I'm repeating it again. I'm saying 350 seconds per repeat transaction. If you can control that repeat, you can save that 350 seconds. That 350 seconds that an agent is spending unnecessarily. Why? Because it's a repeat. You should solve it in the first go. If it is 350 seconds, then the total minutes, that is a wasteful, investment that you are making, or wasteful time that you are spending, comes to 1750 is the total transaction. Per transaction 350 minutes, and hence 10,280 connect minutes are getting waste. Now let's say if your rate at which you are operating is 3 rupees per connect minute, it is 3 rupees, right, that you end up spending. Then what's the total monetized repeat leakage that you are having? So the total leakage on a day level comes to 30,625, and if it is at a month level, it comes to 9,34,000. Now at one end, we have calculated that what's the leakage that is happening. Just so that I do not lose you, I am repeating it one more time. All I have done is that I have first calculated that what is the repeat calls that are controllable. The second thing, which is repeat calls that are controllable, 1750. Second thing that I've calculated is that what's the time that gets spent on each repeat transaction, and I want to save that time because this time has some rate or some connect minute cost attached to it. Now, right now, in this illustration, I am losing 9,34,000 rupees per month on account of wasteful time spent to answer repeat calls. Now, let's just say that in your process, you end up reducing your repeat by 1.5%. Okay. If repeat is reduced by 1.5%, which means what? That out of 17,500 calls that are getting repeated, 1.5% is getting solved. Similarly, if it is by 2% and if it is by 3%, and everything else, once you will have this sheet and you will review it, everything else is nothing but unitary mathematics. So if you reduce it by 1.5%, you end up saving about 1,40,000 every month for your organization. Now you think like this. You go to your manager and you say that I have saved 1,40,000 rupees for you in this month. And let's say instead of this, you go back to your manager and you say, our repeat has reduced by 1%. When you say that you have saved 1.5 lakhs in a month, that's a different language altogether. That's the language that business would understand, would appreciate, would listen to you, would want to invest, and give you more, power to, try out your ideas.